Put down that shoe shine and grab a guitar and your trusty alebrije because that's right, we're headed down to the land of the dead on a Coco Easter egg hunt. Just be sure your family has a photo of you up in their ofrenda, or you may not make it back to the land of the living. Hi, I'm Cristal from the leaderboard, today with Channel Frederator, and here are some Easter eggs you may have missed the last time you saw Coco. Remember to subscribe and click the bell icon to join our notification squad. Pixar Easter eggs. Anyone who has seen Coco will tell you that it's as much about remembering what has come before us as it is about the importance of family and the joy of playing music. And what better way to pay tribute to the Pixar movies that have come before Coco than to throw in some Easter eggs that have to do with Pixar's other classics. Right from the start of the movie, when Miguel is explaining his family's extreme aversion to music, we get a glimpse of a pretty iconic Pixar vehicle as it speeds by the Rivera's open kitchen, blaring music on its way to deliver some delicious, you guessed it, if you look closely, just before Abuelita slams the window shut, you can see the Pizza Planet van from Toy Story driving past. A few minutes later, when Miguel first runs into the plaza on his way to shine some shoes before the big Dia de los Muertos talent show, he passes a lot of stands selling fruits and drinks, and then he comes to a table with a bunch of alebrijes. You know, those colorful figurines of mythical creatures made out of paper mache or carved from wood. On this table are alebrijes of Remy from Ratatouille, as well as Marlin, Dory, Nemo, and Destiny from Finding Nemo and Finding Dory. It looks like there may be a Hey Hey Alebrije in there as well, but it's not necessarily the Moana sidekick. It could be any old rooster on that table. As Miguel keeps running, he also passes by a stand selling piñatas, shaped like Buzz Lightyear, Woody, and Mike Wazowski. This Easter egg is pretty obvious, and it's obvious on purpose. When Coco's creators visited Mexico to do research for the movie, they noticed that many street vendors sold piñatas and stuffed animals of Pixar characters, and they wanted to accurately replicate their experience of wandering down the Mexican streets, so they included the piñatas in the movie. That's about it for Pixar Easter eggs in the land of the living, except one. YouTuber Crazy Nate also claims that Abuelita's broom is in fact the same broom from Brave, and also from Tangled, where he claims it was an Easter egg for Brave as well. But to me, a broom is a broom is a broom, unless you're talking about this broom, of course. Now on to the land of the dead. These skeletons may be a bit behind. For one thing, all of the tech in the underworld is, quote, dead tech, which is why they use rotary phones, walkie-talkies, and typewriters. But they're not out of the loop completely, and the Easter eggs in these scenes show that. The first Easter egg in the land of the dead is for Finding Nemo. When the skeleton with braces passes through the customs checkpoint, the picture of the ofrenda that comes up on the screen is from his dentist's office, the same dentist whose niece was known as the Fish Killer. The first place that Hector takes Miguel to find Ernesto is the studio of none other than famed Mexican artist Frida Kahlo. Dante gets into a bit of a scuffle with Frida's lime green monkey alebrije, and during that sequence, if you watch closely, you can see the Luxo ball on one of the work tables. The Luxo ball, which was in Pixar's first ever animation, goes back as far as the company itself, and it's been an Easter egg in many other Pixar films, like Toy Story, where most people probably recognize it from. Then, on the way to the Battle of the Bands, where Miguel tries to win a ticket into Ernesto's fancy party and a chance to perform with him on stage, Hector and Miguel pass by a wall with graffiti of The Incredibles in full Dia de los Muertos makeup. I guess this is a reminder to audiences to go see the Incredibles sequel coming out this year. During the Battle of the Bands, Miguel watches his competition, which includes a Kenny G-looking sax player and a metal band called Escapula, Spanish for shoulder blade. It also includes a skinny guy in a one-man band who looks pretty identical to Skrillex's animated alter ego who appeared in Wreck-It Ralph. The other thing about this guy is that he's wearing the same skull shirt as Sid from Toy Story, leading fans to press co-director Lee Unkrich for an explanation on Twitter. His response? Quote, "They like the same band." Well, here's hoping nothing terrible has befallen the sadistic Sid. Internal Easter eggs. But even with all of the references to other Pixar movies that the creators planted in Coco, there are still plenty of other kinds of Easter eggs to look for. For instance, throughout the movie, there are subtle hints of what's to come. Let's go back to that alebrije table that Miguel passes on his way to the plaza. Not only are there alebrijes of other Pixar characters on this table, but if you look closely, you'll see that there's also an alebrije of Pepita, Mama Ismelda's ferocious winged leopard spirit guide. Pepita also appears in the ofrenda, this time merely as a cat alebrije next to Mama Ismelda's photograph. The cat alebrije shares Pepita's distinct distinct coloration, and is probably why at the end of the movie she returns on the next Day of the Dead as a street cat. The first time that we see Dante the dog in the movie is by the Alebrije table as well, probably to allude to the fact that he himself ends up being Miguel's Alebrije. In fact, the animators chose to base Dante's breed and somewhat silly appearance on that of the Xoloitzcuintle, which is often just called a Mexican hairless dog or a cholo. Frida uses this term when she first meets Dante in her studio. Back in the time of the Aztecs, cholos like Dante were considered to be spiritual guides who knew everything there was to know about the afterlife, and they were often buried with the dead the way the Egyptians were buried with their cats. Archaeologists have found cholo remains at Aztec burial sites, so in a way, Dante is actually the perfect alebrije, even though at first Miguel's dead relatives are a bit skeptical. Dante's name is an Easter egg as well. We find out that Miguel named the dog Dante because his hero, world-famous musician Ernesto de la Cruz, once had a horse named Dante. One of the old movie clips playing at Ernesto's lavish party in the Land of the Dead shows him riding this horse. It's probably also a nod to Dante's Inferno, the classic book about a man named Dante who travels through the underworld, but that's just my personal guess. This is probably the craziest hint that the movie drops, which is about Héctor being Miguel's real great-grandfather. If you look at the design of the guitar in Ernesto's chapel, in the photograph from the ofrenda, and in all of Ernesto's movies, the headstock of the guitar is decorated as a skull, which at first is like, yeah, okay Pixar, we get it, it's a movie about Dia de los Muertos. But on closer inspection, the design of the skull itself is really telling. The skull on the guitar has a single gold tooth, which is not exactly reminiscent of Ernesto's winning movie star grin, but you know who does have a single golden tooth? Héctor. Boom! The answer was right there in front of us the whole time. Mind blown. Animation-related Easter eggs. There are other kinds of Easter eggs in Coco too. Easter eggs that pertain to how the movie was made. Easter eggs that are just funny inside jokes for the people at Pixar. Easter eggs that give away some of the director's other interests. Probably the very first Easter egg in Coco is the year 1921 itself. The fact that the sign painted on the Rivera's home says that their showbiz was established in 1921 is a subtle reference to Walt Disney's animation career. Disney's very first animation ever was aired in 1921. Then, of course, it really wouldn't be a Pixar movie without some mention of the storied A113. So it goes, a lot of the original Pixar animators graduated from the California Institute of the Arts, where they all took a class in room A113. In Toy Story, the number appears on a license plate. In Finding Nemo, it's on a diver's waterproof camera. In Coco, it appears twice. Once on the door of the office in the customs building where the Riveras find out how to send Miguel home to the land of the living, and then again on one of Ernesto's records. Another recurring Pixar Easter egg is to mention Steve Jobs, who helped found Pixar in some way. Here, the poor customs agent that Mama Ismelda is talking to about not being able to return to the land of the living is using an original Macintosh computer, which Mama Ismelda calls a devil box, before breaking it with her shoe. But that's not the only mention of Steve Jobs. In a very touching move, the creators of Coco decided to include an ofrenda of their own at the end of the movie, filled with the pictures of people that were influential to Pixar before they died. Among them are Walt Disney, obviously, Steve Jobs, Don Rickles, who famously voiced Mr. Potato Head in Toy Story before he passed away, and Joe Ranft, who voiced Heimlich in A Bug's Life and Jax in Finding Nemo. Another iconic Pixar voice actor has a role in Coco. John Ratzenberger plays Juan Ortodoncia, the skeleton with braces. Ratzenberger has been in every Pixar movie, partially because the company believes he's a good luck charm. The most surprising Coco Easter eggs, though, are the ones that relate to Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Yep, you heard that right. Co-director Lee Unkrich has such a love for that movie that he threw a few Shining references in. The most obvious of the three is a painting of the hallway twins in Frida's workshop, which is also probably a conceptual reference to one of her most famous works, The Two Fridas. Then there's also a reference to the axe that Jack wields in the scene where Dante is sleeping in a patch of grass. And the most obscure reference of the three is in that same scene. What's the word Danny keeps saying? Oh, right, red rum.
Red rum! Red rum! Red rum! Red rum!
Murder backwards. So delightful. Well, the red drum behind the axe in that same scene is an Easter egg as well. Mexico-related Easter eggs. Coco just wouldn't be Coco without its deep reverence for Mexican culture. Yup, there are Easter eggs about Mexico all over this movie. Obviously, we've got to start with Frida Kahlo, right? I mean, we've mentioned her a lot already, but it's a pretty cool cameo for her to make, especially for the actor who voiced the character of Frida, who is Mexican-American and has a deep personal connection to the magical realist artist. There are no recordings of the actual Frida Kahlo's voice, so Natalia Cordova Buckley drew inspiration from her own experiences of Frida's voice. She said in an interview with Yahoo Entertainment, "My father gifted me Frida Kahlo's diary. I started reading it and realizing that this woman felt exactly like I felt, and her paintings were in museums and her diary was being sold. She just made me realize that being an outcast and a rebel is a good thing, and that those are the people who change the world and inspire others, because it takes courage to step out of the norm." But Frida is not the only Mexican A-lister to make the cut. There's El Santo, a luchador famous for never taking off his silver mask. Even when he was out of the ring, he starred in movies and he became an icon for generations of Mexican wrestling fans. Other celebrities make an appearance too. All of them are esteemed guests of Ernesto's shindig. From Mexican singers and actors Jorge Negrete and Pedro Infante, to Mexican film actress and singer Maria Felix, to the incredibly funny Cantinflas, to Mexican revolution leader Emiliano Zapata. Everybody who's anybody is hanging out with Ernesto de la Cruz in the land of the dead. That is, before he's exposed as a murderer and a fraud. Even the structure of the land of the dead itself is kind of a reference. All of the architecture in the land of the dead mimics that of actual eras of Mexican architecture. The older homes are toward the bottom of the land of the dead, and the houses and their architectural styles get newer as you go up. So all of the bottom levels are Aztec and Mayan ruins, whereas there is colonial architecture a little further up. And finally, would it be a true tribute to Mexican culture without some visual mention of the chancla? I mean, the Riveras are shoemakers after all, but the chancla, or flip-flop/sandal, is a widely felt cultural experience of many Mexican Americans. This is more than likely the reason why Abuelita, when she discovers that Miguel is talking to a mariachi in the beginning of the movie, proceeds to take off her sandal and attack the mariachi with it. Nobody messes with an abuelita wielding a chancla. I bet not even stupid Ernesto himself. Alright everybody, that's it. Time for me to take a bow and then cross the flower bridge back into the land of the movie nerds. I'm Crystal from the leaderboard, today with Channel Frederator. So tell us, did we miss anything? Did we show you something new? Comment below and let us know. Be sure to click the bell icon and become part of our notification squad, and of course, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching! Be sure to like and follow Channel Frederator for more videos like this.